Welcome to my channel Limelight Leaks. Please share and subscribe, and hit the bell icon for latest updates. My social media pages will be full of people saying, "Bring back Ed, forget you." And that will be 7 years later. But, I don't care. For more than 20 years, Wheeler Dealers has been more than just a car show. It's been famous all around the world. And right in the middle of it all was one man, Mike Brewer. From when he first came on screen in 2003, shaking hands with people selling cars, smiling at the camera, and saying, "This is a great car." He became the friendly, fast-talking face of car buying and selling on TV. Fans saw him making deals with charm, telling jokes with his helpers, and always making the big sale at the end. To people watching, he was always working, flying around the world, looking for special cars, and turning rusty old cars into cars that looked brand new. His energy seemed like it would never end. His excitement seemed real. His confidence seemed unbreakable. But what the cameras never showed was the hard, grinding work that came with keeping that image alive. When the cameras weren't rolling, Mike's phone was always ringing. Production meetings, network demands, sponsor jobs, car deals waiting to be finished. There were days when filming ended late at night in Los Angeles, and by morning, he'd be getting on a plane to London for a press event. While fans saw the smile and the easy talk, they didn't see how tired he was behind his eyes, or how much the endless travel, high-pressure deadlines, and a non-stop filming schedule hurt his body and mind. The job needed more than just selling cars. It required that Mike be on at all times, ready to entertain, make deals, and perform under the constant watching of producers, viewers, and critics. Wheeler Dealers was a brand, and Mike was its main piece. That meant no visible cracks, no bad days, no slowing down. But even for someone as driven as Brewer, that kind of performance cost something. A cost he wouldn't truly know until years later, when the cameras weren't rolling and the rush of the deal was replaced by a very different question. Was the price of fame worth what it quietly took away? Long before the world knew him as the face of Wheeler Dealers, Mike Brewer was working hard in the tough car markets of London. In the late 1980s and early 90s, the streets were his showroom. He didn't have a camera crew or a fancy set, just a good eye for cars that were worth more than people thought and the gift of talking people into things. His early deals weren't million-dollar fancy cars. They were affordable used cars bought and sold quickly for small profits. But even then, Mike had a talent for finding cars that others missed and turning them into moneymakers. As his reputation grew, so did his dreams. Mike wasn't just selling cars. He was building friendships. He learned the rhythm of the trade. When to buy, when to hold, and when to walk away. He could charm a seller into lowering a price or convince a worried buyer that they were about to drive off in the deal of a lifetime. That charm caught the attention of TV producers looking for a host who could connect with both serious car lovers and everyday viewers. In 2003, Wheeler Dealers was born. The idea was simple but powerful. Find a car, fix it up, and sell it for profit, all while showing every step to the audience. Mike was the on-screen dealmaker with mechanic Ed China handling the workshop magic. Together, they made a perfect team. Mike's energy and street-smart trading skills paired with Ed's calm, careful craftsmanship. Almost overnight, Mike went from market trader to television personality. With each successful flip, his fame grew, not just in the UK, but around the globe. Viewers tuned in for the cars, but they stayed for the chemistry. And as the seasons went on, Mike's schedule became busier, the deals bigger, and what people expected got higher. He had achieved what most traders could only dream of: recognition around the world and a platform that turned every handshake into a headline. But that new status came with a weight he was only beginning to understand. From the outside, Mike Brewer's job looked like a dream. Fly somewhere exotic, buy a cool car, film the restoration, sell it for a profit, repeat. But behind the glamour was a relentless, unforgiving pace that few could handle. Filming Wheeler Dealers was not just about capturing a few hours of dealing and mechanical work. It was like running a marathon of organizing. Each season involved multiple cars, often across different continents. The process required detailed research, pre-production scouting, legal paperwork for bringing cars in and out of countries, and coordination with mechanics, part suppliers, and filming crews. Mike often had to memorize scripts and key talking points quickly, sometimes in the middle of chaotic locations or crowded auctions. Days would start before sunrise with location shoots, continue through hours of deals, and end well after dark with pickup shots and interviews. In between, there were sponsor jobs, fan meet and greets, and network conference calls. When the cameras stopped rolling, Mike wasn't done. He was booking the next trip, reviewing contracts, and chasing leads on future cars. Some weeks, he'd be in 3 countries before Friday. In the morning, he might be in a Los Angeles warehouse looking at a muscle car. By nightfall, he'd be on a plane to Europe to close a deal on a rare Porsche. The pressure to keep the show fresh and profitable meant there was little room for rest. If one episode's flip didn't deliver on entertainment value or profit margin, the producers wanted the next one to be bigger, flashier, and more dramatic. Mike pushed himself to meet those demands, but the grind began to chip away at his energy and focus. Fans saw the confident smile, but off camera, he was running on empty, his body clock broken by time zones, his mind constantly calculating the next deal, and his personal life increasingly put on hold. In the world of television, the camera doesn't care if you're tired, stressed, or sick. It demands the same charm, energy, and precision every single day. For Mike Brewer, that meant every deal had to be compelling, every line delivered cleanly, and every sale wrapped up with a winning smile, no matter what was happening behind the scenes. Producers weren't just documenting real car flips. They were shaping a story. Every deal had to have tension, surprise, and a satisfying payoff. If the real-world profit was small, the entertainment value had to be huge. That meant Mike often had to turn ordinary haggling into dramatic moments, adding urgency and excitement even when the actual transaction was routine. At the same time, there was a constant financial gamble. The cars were real, the money was real, and mistakes had consequences. Buy too high and sell too low, and the numbers wouldn't just look bad on paper. They'd spark criticism from viewers and disapproval from the network. Every flip was a public test of his judgment. The show's format made that pressure bigger. The moment a deal was filmed, it was locked in forever. If a car later turned out to have hidden problems or the profit margin wasn't great, Mike couldn't go back and change the outcome. Viewers would see it months later and flood social media with opinions. Some supportive, others brutal. That constant watching created an invisible weight. Mike wasn't just performing for the camera. He was performing for millions of viewers, producers with ratings targets, sponsors expecting returns, and car fans ready to pick apart every choice. And while he thrived under pressure for years, the never-ending need to deliver season after season began to eat away at the joy that had once driven him into the business. For years, Mike Brewer lived life at full speed. But the cost wasn't measured in money. It was measured in moments he could never get back. While Wheeler Dealers was soaring in popularity, Mike's home life was on a different track. Filming schedules kept him away for weeks, sometimes months at a time. Birthdays, anniversaries, family gatherings. Many were missed or celebrated over scratchy video calls from hotel rooms. The travel alone was exhausting. Packing for back-to-back shoots meant living out of suitcases, often in different climates within the same week. A morning in the rain of England could be followed by an afternoon in the heat of California, with jet lag blurring the days together. While Mike put on his game face for the camera, the hours between filming were often spent fighting fatigue, stress, and the quiet ache of missing home. Even when he was home, his mind wasn't. Calls from producers, urgent emails about parts delays, and last-minute changes to filming schedules. The show was never truly off. His family learned to read his mood by the way he stepped through the door. Whether he was riding high on a great flip or weighed down by the chaos of production, friends and colleagues noticed changes, too. Mike, who was once the first to suggest a drink after work, began turning down invitations. He was too tired or already thinking ahead to the next trip. The never-ending pace didn't just take him away from loved ones. It chipped at the easygoing personality that fans knew and loved. It wasn't that he didn't love the work he did. But the balance between passion and personal life had tipped. And the toll it took was something even the most profitable season couldn't repay. If the pace of wheeler dealers wore Mike down, the public watching sharpened the strain. Few moments tested him more than when Ed China left in 2017. Fans were shocked and many assumed, without proof, that Mike was to blame. Social media exploded with accusations, memes, and harsh comments. Overnight, Mike went from beloved TV personality to the center of a fan backlash. Strangers called him greedy, untrustworthy, even a sellout. The criticism wasn't just online. It spilled into real life. At car shows and public events, he sometimes faced confrontations from people who wanted answers or simply wanted to vent. The reality was more complicated. The split with Ed had been a business decision rooted in creative differences with the network. But details rarely survive in online debates. Once a story took hold, it was nearly impossible to shift. Mike tried addressing it publicly, but every statement seemed to fuel another round of arguments. Beyond the Ed situation, there were other tensions, industry rivalries, competitive jealousy, and tabloid rumors that often twisted facts for clicks. Every word, every decision, every deal was picked apart by viewers, bloggers, and even other TV personalities. Some of these critiques were fair. Many were not. Mike had thick skin from years in the trade, but the volume and persistence of the criticism wore on him. It wasn't just about defending his reputation. It was about maintaining the energy to keep performing while feeling like half the audience was rooting for him to fail. The breaking point didn't come in one explosive moment. It built slowly, like pressure in an engine ready to blow. By the late 2010s, Mike's workload was heavier than ever. The show had expanded its reach, filming in multiple countries and juggling more complex builds. Deadlines were tighter, travel was constant, and the expectations from fans, producers, and sponsors kept rising. One particularly grueling stretch saw Mike filming in the US for weeks, flying back to the UK for promotional events, then immediately boarding another long-haul flight to source a rare European classic. He was sleeping in short bursts, eating on the run, and rarely seeing his family. By the time he arrived on set, his body was running on coffee and adrenaline. Then came the car that nearly broke him. A rare but problematic model had been sourced for an episode. It was a passion project for the crew, but the mechanical issues stacked up. Delays, budget overruns, and endless retakes to make the episode work for television. Mike found himself stuck between the workshop, where frustration was high, and the production office, where the pressure to deliver on time was unrelenting. The final straw wasn't the car. It was the realization that he was losing his love for the work. Fans noticed a subtle change. Mike still had the same energy on camera, but there was less of the go-chaos that defined earlier seasons. Behind the scenes, he made time for exercise, proper meals, and reconnecting with his wife and daughter. There was a cost to this new approach. Fewer promotional deals, fewer public appearances, and the risk of losing some momentum in an industry that thrives on constant visibility. But Mike knew that if he didn't protect himself now, there might not be a future chapter at all. Pulling back gave Mike Brewer something he hadn't felt in years. Balance. He could wake up without an alarm, take his daughter to school, and spend evenings in his own kitchen instead of another hotel restaurant. The constant knot of stress in his chest began to loosen. Health-wise, the difference was immediate. Better sleep, regular exercise, and fewer cross-country flights meant he had more energy, not just for work, but for life. Friends saw the change, noting that he was laughing more, staying longer in conversations, and generally looking lighter. But the shift wasn't without sacrifice. Some opportunities slipped away. Producers used to the always available Mike sometimes passed projects to others when he couldn't commit on short notice. Certain sponsors quietly moved on, preferring personalities who lived in the constant spotlight. And there was another loss, one harder to measure. Mike's brand had been built on never-ending hustle and ever-present visibility. Pulling back meant accepting that the Mike Brewer the public knew might slowly fade from the front of their minds.